when you think about it, the writing the book, what led you to it? What are you hoping to accomplish?
Yeah. So for us, we started thinking right at the beginning of our marriage 35 years ago about how we align our faith and our money. And it was embryonic then. And for us, it was an expression of like keeping track of all of our expenses. It was tithing on gross, first fruits, setting up a generosity fund of 1% so we could be generous with people in our lives and not just feel like, oh, it's got to go to a church, but like, and we were very budgeted and we thought, where's the room for that? So those were just baby steps. I mean, we were $13,000 underwater, our negative net worth, lived in without a car when we got married and an apartment with cockroaches. And but we still, right from the beginning, I remember being struck by the fact that what we do with our money is like the tangible expression of our faith because it's not the only one, but it's very tangible. Jesus said, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And your money really shows where your treasure is. And I think it's one thing to have a profession of faith and a doctrinal statement and what you believe. Show me your credit card bill. Show me your checkbook. Let's see where money's going. Let's see where your treasure really is. And so that has been a growing thing for us. In the beginning, it was just about being responsible, saving money, living below our means, hugely important, keeping track of all our expenses. Then as our wealth grew, we thought a lot about, okay, now how do we be philanthropic? How do we grow above just the 10% tithe plus 1 for generosity? And we started adding a percentage per year. But then the next step came. And that next step was, wait, what can we do with all of our investable assets? That which is in our donor advised fund, that's which is outside of it. And that's when we both got so excited about business as mission. And we got so excited thinking about how we can change the world. And it's not just like, sorry, I'm going so long here, Mike. It's not just that there's more money to go to business as mission. Very often it's more effective. Very often the way you change the world is going to be through the crucible of the profit motive, which is not a dirty word. Profit is built into the creation mandate. We didn't plant a seed so we could harvest a seed. God made it pre-fall, so we'd plant a seed and harvest lots more than that. That's profit.
Profit's a very biblical concept. And for some reason, I've noticed business people check their brains at the door when they go into a church building, and they forget so many things that God taught them on the outside. They're still true on the inside. And that's one of them, right? It goes all the way back to the very beginning. And I even, if you look at the Hebrew of Genesis 1, we're meant to, people say we're manage the world. It's exploit. The word is exploit, but it's not an evil word because it simply means use what is there to an outcome, right? It's just utilization, but it's become a nasty word. Profit has become a nasty word. But the truth is God's given us creation to use for our good and the good of our fellow man. And if we do that well, we will actually we'll have more at the end than less. Think about a closed-end system that God would have created a system that once we gave it all, the system shut down. But that's not what he created. He created a sustainable, growable, scalable system, which sounds a lot like a business, doesn't it?
Exactly.
But what you said, Bill, you guys jump in at any time. Don't wait to be called on, please. But Dana, you said something a minute ago before we got started. What Bill just said true for me, that the pathways of change, the approach to change, the philosophy of change, and with your background in government and foreign aid, look, we all believe in charity. I believe in charity. I love to help people. My wife literally this morning paid a neighbor's electric bill so her power wouldn't get turned up. That's fine. Sometimes that's just what you do. But I would far rather find a job for her where this would not happen. And so you said you were kind of contrasting charity and business as you set that up. So come back to that, what we said earlier, what you started on, because it ties to what Bill just said. You guys, it's obvious that you've been aligned in your marriage together. So play with that a little bit, Dana, please.
Yeah, so I would say I started discovering that market-based solutions were the one of the more effective ways to alleviate poverty overseas. And I call it almost poverty prevention. Once you provide jobs, you provide an enabling environment so those businesses can thrive. A legal environment, a business regulatory environment, the businesses can thrive and do what they're supposed to do, then you actually create jobs. That's how middle class starts raising everyone's votes. And that really does work. That's worked for most countries. It's working for India. It's working for China. And the issue is when you pour too much foreign aid into what should just be humanitarian assistance, and everyone needs humanitarian assistance at times, whether it's some kind of weather result or some kind of tragedy or conflict. Absolutely, charity is needed, but it is not should not be long term because it creates a dependency mindset. It takes people's agency away. They don't see how they can utilize their own resources, their own community to step into their God-given role to produce and make goods and services for their community. And so I think even a lot of money has been well-intentioned and has done a lot of harm. Our listeners probably know about Brian Fickert's seminal work of When Helping Hurts, or the book Toxic Charity. Again, neither of them are saying there should be no nonprofits. There certainly needs to be nonprofits, but nonprofits shouldn't veer into the area where for-profit should do better. And I would even say in the BAM world, there's a kind of a spectrum. There are some BAM businesses in really hard to start places that really face a lot of headwinds that may need catalytic capital. They may need some charitable concessional rates to get going because they face so many headwinds. And we really want to see those businesses go, but they shouldn't be on concessional capital for 20, 30 years, whereas then others, they can fly really soon and they just need capital because their capital markets are underdeveloped. So we would be, as investors, faith-driven investors, when we go in and say that business also has a wonderful gospel mission, I'm just excited about helping plant businesses that'll be there for decades after we're gone.
You'll appreciate this with your background in foreign aid and a lot of other things too. The time of this, I started working in Kyrgyzstan back in right after the Soviet Union collapsed, and we were immediate. And I was not there as a missionary. I was there to teach the business side of medicine and healthcare at the State Medical Institute, because when the Soviets pulled out, they took the whole system with them. I mean, the Kyrgyz had nothing, and they took all the jobs. They took all the capital. I mean, you talk about a desolate country. Unemployment rate, the official rate was 31%. The real rate was about 71%. And in the little tiny fledgling Christian community, about 150 people in the whole country, well over 90%. And we realized quickly, there is that cup of cold water, right? You got to bring that humanitarian. You need some food, you need some shelter, all that's good. But then we needed to start thinking about, this is a bunch of ignorant business guys. We do nothing about nothing. And so we're saying, well, we got to start businesses. We've got to create jobs, because if we don't, we can't feed this country. It's 5 million people. It's a small country. We can't feed it forever, right? So we started an incubator, and we started bringing in believers primarily to teach them about business and how to start business. But we had to your point, Dana, we had to bring in charitable capital. There was no investment capital, and frankly, an investor would look at this and go, "You're out of your mind, but I'll give you $100,000." That has changed. That set a flywheel in motion. That today it's not done, but the economy there is evolved, it's healthy, and I saw it in a tiny little laboratory you just described. That all of the various entities, right? The cup of cold water just from a friend, the charity just from believers and non-believers too, just to help you out. You need help, and then let's start businesses, and that becomes self-generating.